Guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be testing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and I'm going to be testing it out today on an RX 6600 GPU paired with a Ryzen 5 3600 and 16GB of DDR4 3200MHz RAM. You can see all of the settings here. I'm using full screen mode 1080p, and I'm using 100 FOV, which I've just increased from 90. Motion blur, chromatic aberration are turned off. I'm using low texture pool size and low shadow quality. The rest of the settings are the maximum. Okay. Now these two settings, whenever you go higher than low on either of these settings, your FPS drops like crazy because your VRAM totally gets pegged to 8GB for this GPU. Okay, and for whatever GPU you have that has 8GB of VRAM, I would recommend to use both of these settings at low. Okay. So these are the recommendations given by Digital Foundry's video, and you can go ahead and check out their video in order to know what's the best settings to use for your GPU. But they recommend for 8GB GPUs to use low textures and low shadow quality. Now, even though those both of the settings are at the lowest, our game still looks very good because the rest of the settings are high. Now this game has actually launched. I was waiting for the game to be fully launched because there were early access before that. The game was launched in early access. I didn't know how to get access to it, but now I have access to the full game when it launched. And also the early access version didn't have optimization added to it. Okay, because previously people were saying that the game stutters a lot and there were many issues. Now as you guys can see, even though I'm at 7.9GB of VRAM usage, my game doesn't stutter that much. Okay, it is stuttering when it's loading a new area or something, but yeah. And these cutscenes are gonna destroy your frame rate. I've already tried to play it from this area, and yeah, stutters happen whenever you are in a cutscene. They need to be able to solve this issue because cutscenes, they are very choppy. You know, whenever there is a zoom in on the face of a character. Because this is the previous Indiana Jones movie style gameplay. Okay, they have added cutscenes resembling that type of camera work. Now as you guys can see here, I want to move here. Let's keep on moving forward. This area is pretty dense. I've played through this area already and entered a building type of thing, and that was not very intensive compared to this area. And I think that this area is a very good place to get the performance results from. Okay, now we're still at 40 FPS, about 40 FPS most of the times. This game also unfortunately doesn't feature any kind of FSR or XeSS, and there might be some mods which people can do in order to add FSR2 or FSR3 to this game, and by replacing DLSS from it. But the developers should be actually going ahead and adding FSR2 at least to the game, because that's AMD users are just kind of destroyed by this. Okay, so again a cutscene, and within the cutscenes you see that the FPS is dropping at 30, which is not very nice. I need to see if I can decrease the settings further and get higher frame rates. But the textures, I've seen some videos, and even though when you increase the textures like at maximum textures, the game doesn't have very good texture quality. Okay, even though the game has many options to increase the textures, it might be using a lot of VRAM, but doesn't seem like there is much difference within textures. Okay, within the texture quality. Look at this camera work. It's very like spontaneous and is choppy. Yeah. The game is good looking, but textures can be better. I mean, for 8GB GPUs even, I don't know what type of texture compression they're using in their engine, but it can be better. Okay, now let's try to see here in this area how this game runs and looks. Everything is towards the maximum, so I expect to see good graphics from this game. Yeah, the shadows are low, but you can see that texture pop-in is really close. There is a kind of a line on the screen where you can see that the shadows pop in. Yeah, As you can see, the shadows are, as I'm moving forward, they are getting clearer. So this is the down back to using these kind of settings in the game. And yeah, our GPU usage is pretty nice in this game, 7.9 gigabytes and 99% GPU usage most of the time, so there is no CPU bottleneck. That's a good thing. But now I'm going to try to change some settings here. I don't have an option to have use FSR2, so that's a bummer, but let's try to decrease the settings here, because I told you that these settings cannot be used anything higher than low, but I'm going to show you what happens. Okay, let's use these two at medium, and yeah, so our frame rate dropped. That was going to happen, but you can see that my GPU usage, GPU power usage is hovering between 70 to 80 watts, which means that I'm totally getting a bottleneck in the system somewhere. Now CPU was not an issue before, and it's not going to be an issue with your shadow quality being higher or your texture quality being higher in any way. Okay, the other thing is that your VRAM can be an issue with these kind of settings. Okay, when you increase these settings, it already tells you that your VRAM is going to be an issue, and that happens. Now it's dropping into the 20s. I can try to kind of adjust my resolution scaling here. This game has an option to go ahead and do a static resolution scaling at 90%, which I found to be very good looking compared to native resolution. And whenever I apply that, I get some FPS boost, like 5 to 6 FPS sometimes, and yeah, it's still dropping into the 30, lower 30s, and at 30 also 29, 28, 27. Okay, so this is not gonna be playable, guys. So as I showed you guys, if I use anything more than low settings on those both those options, the game doesn't simply work. Okay, it doesn't simply work, and you don't get any benefit. Rather, you drop the frame rate from 30. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off resolution scaling. Let's go back, and yeah, our frame rate is back to normal again. We're again using 98 to 95 watts of GPU power, which is the maximum on this GPU. The maximum is actually 100 watts, so close to that is very good. Okay, so now let's go lower. Let's see if we decrease the settings and try to go like medium settings, I would say. Let's try medium settings, all of them, and let's see if okay, this actually requires to restart the game. Hair quality. So I'm gonna be restarting the game, and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright guys, we are back. I restarted the game, and as you guys can see, our FPS there. Let's go over the settings first, if they are the same which we applied before, and let's see. Okay, low settings, low, both of these options are at low, and the rest of the settings are at medium. Okay, this is not at medium. Let's try to use this medium as well. And there was another option to use vegetation animation quality. Let's do medium also on that. Now this is just for animation. I don't know if it impacts the performance, doesn't seem like it, but as you guys can see now, our frame rate is close to 60 FPS native 1080p. Until they implement FSR2 in this game, there is no other option to increase your FPS other than decreasing the settings. Don't get me wrong, these settings or these graphics don't look very bad compared to ultra settings, but path tracing is a different story. I have seen some videos, and path tracing looks really good in this game, in my opinion. It just changes the look of the game drastically. Okay, now let's go ahead and try to use even lower settings. I want to see everything to the low. Alright guys, everything is to the lowest now, and let's see the frame rate. Okay, there's at 70 FPS there is still no bottleneck, guys, on this GPU. That is really nice. There are some settings which impacted the performance a lot when I decreased them, and we are at 70 FPS. It doesn't look very nice now because many ambient occlusion and shadows and stuff, and atmosphere has kind of gone to being a very old game, but still 70 FPS is really impressive for an engine like this. Okay, As you guys can see on the right side, we have the options to test out to see our OSD for the game, and it's all green. So this is telling me now that everything is good. RT says still on. I don't know if it's on now, but game actually natively uses global illumination as ray traced, so I don't know if it's still on at low settings. But I'm observing that my game is pretty smooth now. There are no stutters. Let's try to keep moving forward a little bit more, and let's see if we get some stutters. I got a stutter there. Now the textures and stuff don't look very good, guys. So this is gonna happen. Now in the cutscene we dropped like 20 FPS, guys. You see that we were at 75, 76 FPS, and now we're in the 50s sometimes.
Very good.
So yeah, people's faces and stuff, their clothes and stuff, they're very intensive while in cutscenes. So yeah. So I think this gives you the idea of how this game is gonna perform for you guys, and I don't recommend anything more than the settings that I've showed you in this. This can be a video showing you the optimized settings for this game, okay? And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.